Quiero agradecer a los gobiernos de Japón, Estonia, Singapur, Finlandia, China y Corea, que han tenido la gentileza de enviarnos expertos de primera línea para que hagamos las preguntas que nos interesa hacer. A los maestros argentinos que vinieron a este seminario, con quienes tuve ayer una conversación muy interesante, nos han contado experiencias que realmente merecerían ser difundidas y que yo tuve el placer de escuchar. Quiero agradecer también al project manager de este seminario, Cristóbal Schultz, y la colaboración tan importante de Bárbara y de Bárbara Matelli, y la colaboración de todos los miembros de esta delegación argentina, comenzando por el ministro Hillman, también el ministro Silvani Patrón Costas, que ya no está ya con nosotros, sino en Buenos Aires. Quiero agradecer a Paula Lolé, a Concepción Díaz, a Enrique Chico, a todos los que a José Fernández, a todos los que han colaborado. Espero no olvidarme de ninguno, porque todos han sido muy importantes en la concreción de este seminario. Vamos a comenzar con el tema que está primero en el programa, que es la supuesta contradicción entre la memoria y el razonamiento, las experiencias en clase. Esto se ha hecho un lugar común, es decir, que la escuela enseñaba a memorizar y que ahora hay que tener más énfasis en la experimentación. Pero razonar es relacionar conocimientos ya fijados en la mente, y experimentar no es improvisar, sino verificar a partir de esas cosas adaptadas por la memoria. Quiero empezar preguntando si esta relación entre aprendizaje y experimentación es, ya creo que no contradictoria, pero cuál tiene preeminencia, cuál tiene importancia en la educación actual. Y voy a pronunciar bien el apellido, Koršňáková. No lo pronuncio bien. ¿Cómo se pronuncia verdaderamente?
Thank you very much. The pronunciation was brilliant, and the question was killing. And it was very similar to the question if there was first hen or egg. Basically, when we were looking into our IA data to find out how beneficial are experiments, or how much achievement is better when students are reporting doing experiments, we found out that the picture is not clear. For example, when we looked into the results of Buenos Aires in teams, we found out that actually those who did experiments as a part of science lessons achieved lowest results, while in Singapore they achieved highest results if the experiments were done very often. That is coming to thinking more about what does it mean to do experiment, if it's, what is the major gain out of that? And that leads me to a very interesting sentence that was very often used by colleagues in Norway when they were discussing hands-on activities, like constructivist activities versus structuralism in education. And they were sometimes saying, well, hands-on, minds off. And that's leading us to the major point, that you can use experiment as something mechanic, or you can, is it on? Yeah. Or you can do it using your cognition, your cognitive skills. So basically, it's very difficult question. And if you followed up information from last Thalys study, you perhaps came across the conclusion that there is nothing like constructivism more advanced to structuralism. It's just a matter of purpose. For some students, it's enough, they are well developed, and for them it's enough to make abstract reasoning. They don't need to do experiments, hands-on experiments, but they would profit from them. But they don't need it. So teachers are not doing it because they are, how to say, effective, efficient. They are doing what is necessary. In other cases, students are lacking motivation. They are lacking engagement. So teachers are using experiments to get their attention, get them engaged. And then they can go on and continue with more cognitive, higher cognitive level. So did I well? Yeah.
Su interpretación es muy importante porque usted ha sido profesora de biología y matemáticas y a la vez tiene un doctorado en psicología. Por otra parte, es especialista en evaluaciones educativas, es miembro del Consejo de la Asociación Europea de Investigación Educativa y su principal objetivo es fomentar la innovación y la calidad educativa. Quiero preguntarle a Akiko, pero antes voy a decir que es directora del Departamento de Investigación Educativa Internacional en el Instituto Nacional para Política Educativa e Investigación de Japón, su país, en el Ministerio de Educación, que lo es a la vez de Ciencia y Tecnología. Y quiero preguntarle lo mismo, ¿qué relación existe entre la memorización y la investigación? ¿Cuál debería ser preeminente? Ya hemos escuchado que el resultado de la experimentación es diferente en diferentes países. Hemos escuchado sobre la importancia de la abstracción y luego la experimentación y querría conocer su punto de vista.
Thank you for Ambassador for giving me this opportunity. Experimentation. Actually, in Japan, we have the long history of emphasizing experiments in natural science. I heard from a science expert that we already have 90 years of history of emphasizing experiments in science. Actually, experiments officially written in the curriculum, national curriculum, since 1958. So the officially endorsement actually was later than the reality of having experiments for the long time. And I think the benefits of experiments are to let students apply scientific viewpoints, ways of thinking, which means to let them think reasons, hypotheses, and theories. And also to let students do activities with visions in mind, which means to let students look for methods to answer the questions, and to let the students solve problems scientifically, which means to let students verify the hypothesis. Those are fundamental characteristics of science, and it should be nurtured in the natural science, the subject. Actually, today we have distributed this pamphlet, Basic Education in Japan. I hope you can imagine from this beautiful animation or illustration. And on the page 6 and 7, it introduces the subjects of primary school. And we have the subject called Living Environmental Studies for grade 1 and 2, which integrates natural science and social science for grade 1 and 2. And after grade 3 to the upper grades, we have the subject of natural science. And for both the subjects, experiments and also observations are very emphasized and put high priority in the classrooms. Actually, we have a data that our emphasis on the experiments that is very higher than other countries. Percentage of science class at grade 8 implementing experiments or observations, 77% of our science class at grade 8 implement experiments by teachers, and 67% of our science class at grade 8 implement experiments in groups. So it is very common for us to have experiments by teachers and also experiments by groups. So I think experiments are very important by students to find the solution for the hypothesis and get the attitudes toward learning. I think that is my answer. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Entonces, por encima de esa falsa distinción entre razonamiento y experimentación está la lógica, el razonamiento lógico, el razonamiento científico, en definitiva, de hipótesis y verificación. ¿Cuál es el resultado comparativo, el outcome, entre la experimentación guiada por maestros y la experimentación por grupos?
We think inquiry-based learning by groups are very important. Actually, now we do emphasis on active learning, that is self-motivated learning and interactive learning. and deep learning in the classrooms. So I think the demonstration by teachers are also important, but experiments by groups enhance students find by themselves the questions and answers to the questions, and also it can nurture the attitudes, active attitude of the students. That is very important for us.
Gracias. Maie Kirching, usted ha ejercido 22 años como docente, está encargada de la implementación de PISA en Estonia, su país, a la vez cursa un doctorado en la Universidad de Tartu, y su tesis se refiere a la relación entre aprendizaje y medio ambiente escolar. Teniendo en cuenta esto último, ¿cómo se fomenta la creatividad en el aula? ¿Cómo se estimula el afán de innovar, la necesidad de crear?
Thank you. The second slide, please. Notes from Japan, Estonian, please. Next, please. Next. Yep. Thank you. First of all, I would like to start from PISA 2015 results. And when we look at the database and look at those countries who name the top countries, actually, and if you go deeply and look at what kind of strategies teachers use, then we can see that we can't say that some of them strategy, is more emphasized than others. I guess if I look at the ranking list by teachers' strategies, I can see that, the top countries, actually they have the middle positions. They use a different kind methods and strategies. And I guess it depends on the aim. If we would like to teach general competencies, then we have to choose suitable methods. In Estonia, during the last 10 years, actually, it's 10-15 years, outdoor learning is quite known amongst the teachers, and outdoor learning is promoted by the different teacher training programs, guidelines, and I guess our teachers leave from traditional classroom. They are going out. They use a city environment. They use nature environment and artificial as well. And what I would like to say that the question is how we motivate the students. And of course, quite old traditional methods are not very motivating for students. And I guess every teacher looking for the more attractive ways how to teach and creates the best study environment for children, for students. And could you please show this next slide? Thank you. And I picked up a lot of, when I just Googled and looked at what kind of different activities our schools are doing, then I saw that it's so comfortable for every school in Estonia that this kind of different kind of activities is very common for Estonian schools. they are going out, and this is one way, but I would like certainly to emphasize that it doesn't matter that we are using active learning methods or teaching methods, problem solving. We should think that traditional methods has a certain role in everyday school life as well. Thank you.
Gracias. Paulina, otra cuestión. Dado que, como dijimos, usted es a la vez científica y psicóloga y que está especializada en evaluación educativa, que es miembro del Consejo de la Asociación Europea de Investigación. ¿Se puede tener educación de calidad sin inculcar desde muy temprano al niño estas nociones de método científico, por supuesto, de matemáticas en un sentido primario?
Thank you. Hopefully I understood. You will learn from my response. We have two problems. One problem is related to the fact that the number of or the amount of knowledge is waste. It's huge. It's not doable anymore, like for one person. You remember perhaps from history that there were people that were able to master multiple disciplines. Now we have specialists that are so specialized that they are very focused within one discipline. So we are not even able to master one discipline, and yet we have biology, which is life science with plentiful disciplines. So even to teach vocabulary is difficult. So then the question is, if it makes no sense to do that, what else can make sense? What can be better? So we are coming back to the notion to be active, to go the way through inquiry, to try to do the path, how those, not to learn the outcomes, but to find or learn the way how these outcomes were achieved. So that's the path for inquiry, investigation, experimentation, and link to reality. So we are not using the motivation to be engaged. So basically we need to change focus from the know what to know how. And prior to that, we somehow will need to engage in reflection why, what we would like to achieve.
Preguntarse por qué es, por supuesto, como ha dicho Paulina, la clave. En general, los niños empiezan por preguntarse por qué cosas referidas a cosas cotidianas. Pero, ¿cómo se dirige el porqué a los asuntos más importantes y particularmente a aquellos que van a permitir el encadenamiento, la secuencia de la educación?
Well, that is a very difficult question, but well, actually, we have a long history of inquiry-based lessons. Actually, I'd like to show the book. Maybe many of you know this, The Learning Gap. It was published in 1992 by Stevenson and Stigler, United States researchers. And it says why our schools, United States schools, are failing and what we can learn from Japanese and Chinese education. And in this book, they show the learning the style of Japanese classrooms. They introduced with surprise. I heard that that is the outcome of the team's video studies of comparing classrooms of several countries. And well, they describe the beginning of a 5th grade Japanese mathematics class in this way. The teacher walks in the classroom with a big paper bag full of clinking glasses, and the teacher pulled out 6 containers from the bag and put on the desk. Those are vase or a beer bottle or a pitcher or those kind of things. 6 containers on the bottle. And the teacher poses a question. I wonder which one would hold the most water. So this is a very typical way of questioning or posing a question at the beginning of the lesson. And then the rest of the class is devoted to answering the question. So students decide that the only way to answer it is to fill the containers with something. And they decide that is water. So they they fill up buckets with water from somewhere, and then the teacher asks what they should do next. And the students found that they need some small container to, and they find out how many small containers full of water it will take to fill each of the containers. So students decide to use a small mug cup, you know. And so, for example, and then they started experiments. How many cups of water they need to fill in each container. And then they recorded how many cups are needed. And for example, 3 cups of water to fill in the bottle, or 5 cups of water filling the vase. And then finally, the teacher can make a bar graph to compare how many cups of water are necessary to fill in each container. So the point of a Japanese teacher's question is not to get the right answer, but to make the students think. And the point of the lesson is not to cover the ground for the test, but to stimulate real understanding. So those are found already in 1990s from the classrooms of Japan, and I think this still remains the central idea of Japanese classroom.
Gracias. Aquí uno, espero que me regale este libro. Yo soy un adicto a los libros y este luce muy interesante. Pero quiero preguntarle a usted qué importancia tiene el libro impreso hoy día comparado con la lectura a través de los medios virtuales, no solo la lectura, sino las imágenes, cuán importante es y qué relación hay. ¿Puede la tecnología sustituir al libro impreso?
Absolutely new question. Okay, so my personal view is that even in the future we need a printed book. But I guess the ICT is and it's coming more and more. And if we don't use the ICT devices, ICT materials, ICT environment at the school, I guess school is loser. Because we can't allow that gap between the real life and school life is very big. And in Estonia, I guess we have done quite good step in terms of the ICT, and actually I guess using the ICT rise motivation of students. So the learning process is more attractive, more interesting for them, and it depends on the teachers how actually they use the digital materials, digital devices, etc. But yes, once again, ICT is very essential, and we can't allow that we don't use it at the school, classroom. Certainly we have to use, and in Estonia we use.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Vamos a hacer ahora una pausa. Si están dispuestos los expertos, durante la pausa, quien tenga alguna duda sobre lo que se ha dicho, supongo que podrá presentársela sin abusar. Y bueno, gracias por la atención durante esta primera sesión del seminario.